Liverpool dealt Mark Guhai transfer twist after latest Crystal Palace update. Liverpool's pursuit of Crystal Palace could be hindered. Crystal Palace defender Mark Guhai. Liverpool's pursuit of Crystal Palace defender Mark Guhai could be hindered by Eberechi's seemingly impending exit from Selhurst Park. The Reds opened talks with the Eagles earlier this week over a possible deal to bring Guehi to Anfield. The England international, 25, has less than 12 months remaining on his current deal at Selhurst Park, with Liverpool hopeful of being able to add him to their ranks for a fee in the region of £35 million. After last weekend's Community Shield clash between the Premier League champions and FA Cup winners at Wembley, Palace chairman Steve Parish said the speculation surrounding Guhai's future needed a new contract or a conclusion of some kind. However, Liverpool's hopes of signing Guhai before the September 1st transfer deadline could be dealt a blow after reports on Saturday afternoon claimed Eze has informed the club of his desire to leave Palace and join Tottenham Hotspur. Reports state that Eze, who has interest from Arsenal too, has agreed personal terms with the Europa League winners and is hopeful of joining Spurs' outfit before the end of the month. Parish, though, seems to have hinted that Palace will be unwilling to let too many star players leave in one window, which could lead to Guhai seeing out the final 12 months of his contract at Selhurst Park. Discussing the transfer food chain in the Premier League, Parish explained why Palace rejected 4 bids worth up to £65 million for the England international last summer. One, for players of that caliber to leave on a free, it's a problem for us, unfortunately, said Palace of Guehi. Joachim Andersen went to Fulham last summer, and we couldn't afford to lose both. We then had another bid for Guhai in January, but that was a different situation. We'll just have to see what happens, but, it needs a new contract or a conclusion of some kind. On Friday, Liverpool completed the signing of Giovanni Leoni from Parma. Virgil van Dijk stands by Antoine Semeno and brands racist abuse absolute disgrace at Liverpool. Liverpool skipper Virgil van Dijk has pledged his support to Antoine Semeno after alleged racist abuse towards Bournemouth forward. Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk has pledged to support Antoine Semeno however he can after the Bournemouth forward made allegations of racist abuse during Liverpool's 4-2 win at Anfield on Friday night, and the Reds captain has branded the incident an absolute disgrace, saying such behavior has no place in football. The Reds began the defense of their Premier League crown with a home victory over the Cherries, but the first half was brought to a halt after Semeno relayed the allegations to referee Anthony Taylor, who subsequently consulted with both managers in Arne Slot and Andoni Iraola pitchside. Semeno made the complaint after taking a throw-in near the main stand, and a police investigation into the incident is now underway, with a statement from Liverpool released shortly after full time, confirming they are helping the authorities in their efforts. Slot condemned the alleged racism towards Semeno, who scored Bournemouth's 2 goals on the night. And speaking after the game, Van Dijk echoed the comments made by his boss and said he will help the Cherries star through the ordeal in whatever way he can. I've had loads of conversations with him about it, and first and foremost, I wanted to know what happened, and I am glad the authorities are dealing with it all. That is the main thing, Van Dijk said. But we stand with him completely, and I think every one of you here would say the same thing. These things can't happen. So anything he needs for support, I am here for him. We are all here for him, to be honest. But the club as well, and they are dealing with it in the right way. I am fully confident about that. Especially the authorities have to deal with it now. And like I said, these things can't happen whatsoever. No, I can't believe it. And I can say these things that it shouldn't happen, but unfortunately it does, and it is an absolute disgrace in my eyes. Van Dijk added, first and foremost, these things should never happen in the world, not only football. I am happy to say I don't see it happening up until today, actually, and that is what I say, that it is a disgrace that it could happen. But in general, racism is not of this world in my opinion, but if we are to be realistic, unfortunately, it still exists, and that is the dangerous side of it. We have to deal with it in the here and now, and like I said, I am here for Antoine whenever he needs it, and we are here as a club to deal with it in the best way possible, because it shouldn't happen. What else can we do? Because this is the very odd one that has managed to be something that is a disgrace, and the only thing we can do is deal with it with him personally and try to educate the next generation. But that is the only way to try and kick it out, in my opinion. It's tricky, but that is the only way we can try and kick it out. Liverpool transfer news as Stars exit funds new signing amid Mark Guhai update. Liverpool transfer news as the Reds land their 7th signing of the summer and sanction another departure while their pursuits of Alexander Isachs and Mark Guhai continue to rumble on. Liverpool are still hopeful of signing Mark Guhai this summer. Liverpool's season is underway, but there are still a number of loose ends to tie up in the transfer market, including the saga of the summer. The Reds confirmed their 7th signing of the summer as Giovanni Leoni's switch from Parma was rubber-stamped to provide some much-needed backup in defense after Jarell Quansah's departure several weeks ago. Almost completely offsetting that cost, winger Ben Doak is set to head out of Anfield to join Bournemouth. But with just over a fortnight until the transfer window closes, Liverpool's business may not stop there. With more arrivals expected on Merseyside, with the futures of Alexander Isachs and Mark Guhai still up in the air. Here is our verdict on the latest transfer gossip. Reds land Leoni amid Guhai update. Liverpool's new 6'4" in centre-back, Giovanni Leoni has arrived at Anfield. The 18-year-old completed his $35.2 million, £26 million switch and said, "It's a really great sensation and I'm honored to be here. When I saw Liverpool were interested, I said, wow, this is crazy. I'm very happy." Liverpool have signed Giovanni Leoni from Parma, and Mark Guhai may not be far behind if the comments of Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner are anything to go by. "I've been in the football business for too long," Glasner said, "so I know that at any time of any day, things can happen." Guhai is expected to start Palace's opener at Chelsea on Sunday, however, with the deal seemingly still no closer at this stage. Liverpool.com says, "Leoni looks a great addition and will help provide necessary backup while offering plenty of potential for the future. Ultimately, Liverpool still look a little light in defense if they're hit by injuries, and the club should push to seal a deal for Guhai. If that means meeting Palace's $54.2 million, £40 million valuation, it would still be good business." Doak heading for Bournemouth. Liverpool winger Ben Doak is joining Bournemouth in a $33.8 million, £25 million deal. Ben Doak is joining Bournemouth. The winger was withdrawn from the Reds' matchday squad before last night's match against the Cherries ahead of his move. Once considered a potential heir to Mohamed Salah, Doak had plenty of potential suitors following his successful loan spell at Middlesbrough last season, but Bournemouth edged out Porto and Stuttgart for his signature. Liverpool.com says, "Doak is a talented player, but suggestions he could replace Salah were always far-fetched and arguably a little unfair. Liverpool have better options available, and a move to Bournemouth in the same way as Harry Wilson is the perfect opportunity for Doak to play regularly and further his career. The fact his sale pretty much covers the fee for Leoni is another fine example of Richard Hughes and company working their magic." Isak out of Newcastle opener. The saga continues. Alexander Isaac will not play for Newcastle against Aston Villa, and in a surprise to no one, Alexander Isaac will not feature in Newcastle's opening Premier League fixture at Aston Villa on Saturday. But the Reds appear no closer to agreeing a deal to sign the Swedish striker. Toon boss Eddie Howe said, "We do have to forget about Isak. He's not here with us. I want him to play. I want him to train." Alex's situation has been unchanged for a while, and that will continue to be the case. Newcastle are exploring the prospect of signing PSG striker Gonçalo Ramos, though, according to the Mail, which would help move things along. Liverpool.com says, Isak continuing his strike was inevitable. Realistically, Newcastle aren't going to sell Liverpool their best player before the two sides meet on August 25th. Liverpool are clearly biding their time, knowing the closer the transfer deadline gets, the more desperate Newcastle will be to sell. But it also won't be done unless the Toon line up another striker. This one will probably go right to the wire. Liverpool are clearly biding their time, knowing the closer the transfer deadline gets, the more desperate Newcastle will be to sell. But it also won't be done unless the Toon line up another striker. This one will probably go right to the wire. Andy Carroll makes feelings clear on Alexander Isak's conduct over Liverpool transfer. Alexander Isachs could follow Andy Carroll's footsteps in leaving St. James Park behind to move to Anfield in a club record transfer for Liverpool, but the former Newcastle striker insists their situations are very different. Alexander Isachs is still on strike at Newcastle as he pushes for a move to Liverpool. Andy Carroll has criticized Alexander Isachs for trying to force a move to Liverpool and says the striker has burned his bridges with Newcastle fans. Isachs has gone on strike and will not be involved in Newcastle's opening Premier League fixture against Aston Villa on Saturday, as he has made it clear he wants to complete a move to Anfield. Liverpool has had one bid rejected for the Swedish international, but that offer did not come close to Newcastle's valuation, and the clubs remain at a standoff. Carroll, 36, played for both clubs after Liverpool spent a club record $47.4 million, £35 million, to sign him in 2011. But the Newcastle-born forward later returned to St. James Park and insisted he never wanted to join Liverpool in the first place, unlike Wanaway Isachs. Being from Newcastle, I didn't really want to leave. Didn't want to go. I wanted to stay. And it was tough when I did go, Carroll told Sky Sports. But Isak's not from Newcastle, so he can act like he's acting now and think it's acceptable. It's a big move for him. The way he's playing his cards at the minute, the Newcastle fans are not going to back him. He's not going to help himself. And it's a shame because he's such a good player, and every Newcastle fan wants him to stay. The manager wants him to stay. It's not really the same as me because it's not his club. The Geordies took him in and made him one of their own, but when he wants to go, that's his mind changed. Andy Carroll says he never wanted to leave Newcastle for Liverpool. Liverpool's opening offer for Isachs of £110 million plus £10 million in add-ons was turned down by Newcastle, who value their star man at close to £150 million. Isachs refused to go on Newcastle's pre-season tour of Asia, citing a thigh injury, instead training former club Real Sociedad. Since his return to Newcastle, the 25-year-old has been training alone, and boss Eddie Howe admitted Isachs would not be selected for the clash at Villa, despite him wanting his striker on the field. Howe said, "We do have to forget about Isachs. He's not here with us. We have to focus on who is here and get the best out of them. The players are aware he's not here. The focus will be on each player playing to the best of their ability. I want him to play. I want him to train. I've had those conversations with Isachs, but the details of those will remain private. There is no change to the situation. All my focus has been on the training, Aston Villa, and the transfer front in terms of getting players in. That is all consuming for me. Alex's situation has been unchanged for a while, and that will continue to be the case." Newcastle are still seeking a viable replacement for Isachs, with the Mail reporting. The Northeast club are still exploring the possibility of a deal for Paris Saint-Germain's Goncalo Ramos. The Magpies are not under pressure to sell, with Isachs still under a contract for another 3 years. But Newcastle fans have already made clear they do not want Isachs at the club, and failure to strike a deal with Liverpool before the transfer deadline on September 1st would ultimately leave Howe with a player who does not want to be there. In what appeared an attempt to tug on Isak's heartstrings, Howe said, "Me and Alex have enjoyed a great relationship. I don't think he would have done as well as he has done without that, without his teammates, without the supporters. He is a highly intelligent person, and he knows he wouldn't have had the success he's had without everybody connected with Newcastle." Alexander Isachs is continuing to push for a move to Liverpool in the summer transfer window, and it is now claimed Newcastle are set to find the Sweden international. Liverpool had their opening offer for Alexander Isachs turned down. Newcastle United are reportedly set to impose a club fine on striker Alexander Isachs should he miss the opening match of the Premier League season, as he seeks to engineer a move to Liverpool. The Sweden international could face financial penalties as his refusal to play for the Magpies comes to a head in their clash with Aston Villa. Isachs has been pushing for a transfer to Liverpool this summer and hasn't trained with Eddie Howe's first team since they embarked on their pre-season tour of Asia. The forward has been training separately from his teammates who helped secure the club's Champions League qualification last season. Liverpool have already had a bid turned down by Newcastle this summer. Initially, the Magpies insisted that the forward was not up for sale, and it's not anticipated that the Reds will make another offer unless given some encouragement. However, Isachs isn't ready to give up on his dream move just yet, and has claimed that he won't play for Newcastle again, regardless of how things unfold over the coming weeks. This defiant stance could lead to the 25-year-old being punished. Amid the ongoing standoff, the former Real Sociedad star continues to receive his weekly wages of £140,000. No fine has been levied yet, despite his declaration that he won't play for the club. According to Mail Online, via the Mirror, Newcastle's approach is expected to change once Isaac misses a competitive match, at which point disciplinary action will be taken. The Magpies kick off their Premier League campaign with a trip to Aston Villa this weekend. Isaac's position is said to be steadfast, with concerns that any softening of his stance would only embolden Newcastle into thinking a compromise can be reached, thereby quashing any hopes of a transfer. Despite edging closer to signing Yoane Wissa, the St. James Rower Park outfit have yet to find an adequate replacement for their main striker. Howe has admitted that the current predicament has thrown a spanner in his squad's preseason preparations. "I think morale was certainly affected early on during preseason," he confessed. "There was nothing I could do to affect that it was always going to be there. When you have a player that good who is not part of your group, it's difficult for the players to fully understand it and to know what's going on and how to react." But as time has gone on, there has been an acceptance that this is the squad, and we have got to make the best of the situation. That's always been my train of thought. Whatever situation you're in, you have got to find a way, and you can only control what you can control. We have moved forward, and I've got to say the atmosphere of the group has been very good in the last couple of weeks.